Good, welcome, Sharon. What's
Hey,
on your
Rock.
mind today?
Well, I was kind of sitting here thinking about what's been going on at work, and one of the things that one of the things I've been thinking about, and wondering about, is working with a remote team. I've got a Scrum team that I'm working with, and um, being just in their meetings and really having that as only the touch point with them, I'm finding um, isn't quite enough,
Mhm.
because I really don't get a feel. They're very quiet. I don't get a feel for um, kind of what they're thinking, or how they're why they might be reacting in some ways, and that kind of thing. And now the team also has a development manager, and the development manager works with them as well as in all the same meetings. But they also do like one-on-one um, sessions, like reporting sessions and that kind of thing. And I was starting to think, like, I'd like to get some more contact with
Mhm.
the team members, and I'm a bit unsure how I might go about that. Like, if kind of like a one-on-one coaching session every couple of weeks might be a good idea, or if some other kind of approach might make it more comfortable, like less reporting style type
Mhm.
of thing. And I also really want to be sensitive to their time,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? If I don't want to be, um, you know, kind of have them feel like they're reporting into two kind of structures, or that. And I want to keep it on more of the coaching level, and that type of thing. But I've never really thought or considered doing uh,
Okay.
this approach with the people from a remote team before. So I
Okay.
thought
Mhm.
um, that maybe that'd be something good to chat about today.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's an interesting one. So,
Yes.
what are you hoping to accomplish by having additional meetings or touch points, I guess, with them?
Yeah. What I'm looking for is um, me to get a better understanding of things that I'm seeing in the meetings, and take that opportunity to get to know them more on a personal level than just in a meeting, um, type of thing. And so that I guess, yeah, one of the things that I'm looking for is that they start to feel comfortable, because I kind of get the sense they're not, um, bringing up issues and risks, and just things that are on their mind uh,
Mhm.
in meetings. A lot of the meetings seem to go, yep, all's good, everything's fine, no problems. And then we get to kind of, the 2 days from the sprint, and it's like, huh, we don't know what's going on. Like,
Everything's not okay.
everything's not okay. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking for, I guess, a bit of rapport, and a bit of that, helping to create that feeling that in, our Scrum meetings, in our sprint planning meetings, in even in our backlog refinement, all of those things, that we've got that open, honest communication
Mhm.
going on, where people, the team members can say, hey, I don't agree with that, or we haven't thought of that kind of thing, where they don't feel like they just have to kind of agree with everything that's going on,
Mhm. Okay.
or say everything's fine when maybe it isn't.
Okay. And can you tell me a bit more about the team in terms of like size, the roles that are on the team, that kind of thing?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's actually a pretty small team. We're running a bit of an experiment with them as well. So there's um, three team members.
Mhm.
Two of them are developers. One shares a developer and Scrum Master role.
Okay.
Uh, oh, then the fourth member is, and so those three members are remote. So they're down in uh, far south. And then the product owner is up here with me as well, and so is the dev manager. So we don't count the dev manager as part of the team.
Right. Yeah.
So they've got four team members plus me as a coach and a dev manager. And the experiment that we're running is that they have nobody in a specialized QA role.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the team's trying to take that on kind of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Good.
Let's see what else. The Scrum Master is probably the most vocal out of the group, the remote group. Our product owner is very knowledgeable about the product, the business processes, also has a bit of a technical background, and is also a very vocal person. The other two remote people are much more quieter, much quieter. And let's see what else about the group. I guess that's the broad brush strokes.
Okay. And does the team have like kind of regular touch points where they're face to face at any point in the year, or is it all just remote?
Physically, no.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, no, it's just not, we're not set up that way.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And so you mentioned safety, that you feel like there's not enough safety in the team, you know, and so that's maybe what's leading to people not being open. What else do you think might be contributing to that? Like as far as the team members not being open and having discussions?
I think I think some of it might stem from a language difference. They're the remote team, part of the team, their first language is Spanish, and English is the second language. So that might be part of it too.
Okay. And anything else?
I think just not really knowing each other very well. More on a kind of just a personal level. And I know I've talked with the Scrum Master a little bit to see about, you know, how to draw more conversation out and that kind of thing. And he's been struggling with the same idea. And so I know I would be able to work with him because he's kind of seen the same thing, and we both want to kind of tackle the same issue from whichever way makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's helpful. What so under what circumstances did you engage with the team originally?
The dev manager asked me to come in and work with the team.
Okay.
They were just starting, forming up together. And so I came in and did some training with them on Scrum. The remote team members had come from more of a Kanban agile frame. And so they're learning Scrum. And so I did initial training with them. And then I did quite a few of the team kickoff activities.
Okay.
So coming up with a team name, figuring out their sprint schedule, what works well for them, accommodating the time frame between Calgary and further, I think, east. Yeah. And whatnot. So we had that team bonding kind of interaction and whatnot. And it went well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been working with the team specifically?
We're in the third sprint now, so about a month, a little over a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what have you seen in terms of like the team interaction and behavior in terms of their communication and discussion? Is there been any difference over that time frame?
No, they've been pretty consistent. I guess in some of the more of the team building kind of exercises, they were a little more open, a little more apt to smile and laugh and chat a bit. And it seems to be that since we've gotten into kind of the routine of the sprint and getting work done, that's changed a little bit more. I wonder why. I wonder what the difference might be there. Because and I kind of wonder if it might be back to this sense of not wanting everything to be working well. Like in a team building situation, there is really no right way to do things, or our outcomes are fairly, I don't want to say easy, but they're a bit more natural. Like we're coming into, getting to know each other, putting together working agreements. How do you like to do this? How do you work to do that? It's a little more, I guess, informal may be the right word.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas now that we're going to our Scrum process, and maybe that's like the meetings feel, to me anyways, I wonder if it feels the same way to them, a bit more on the formal side of things. Like we're almost reporting as opposed to working together. Yeah.
So kind of the idea, like the routine of the sprint is kind of stifling that openness and interaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're saying you're wondering if the team feels the same way. How might you find out what the team is feeling in that regard?
I think maybe some quick check-ins with them before, or maybe even just like at the end of some of our sprint meetings. So at the end of Scrum, quick check-in on how was that? Did that accomplish what we needed to accomplish? That might work. I think maybe bringing it up as a retrospective topic specifically would be helpful too. Now that I'm thinking about it. I know one of the comments in chatting with the Scrum Master was that the Scrum meetings, so our daily stand-ups, weren't really very productive.
Okay.
And so I know he's taking on the task to talk with the team and see what, why that might be and how we might be able to increase productivity there. More of a sense of working together as opposed to just, yep, did this, gonna do that, everything's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe, some check-ins during a meeting or towards the end of a meeting. Retrospective. What are some other things? I guess just touching base with them individually, and just getting their kind of a conversation individually to see how they're feeling about the meetings, and if they seem more formal or just just kind of what their take is, would also be a good idea.
Okay. And what do you think their reaction would be to that kind of an invitation?
I think they would be okay with that, in that, like, I do have a bit of a rapport with them, having done the training and the team setup, and so it wouldn't be unexpected for me to just say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
more of like an informal kind of conversation then, is that what
Yeah.
you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking more informal.
Okay.
Because personally anyways, that's kind of what I want to get away from is structure, formality, that kind of thing. Because I think that's, at least that's what I think is stifling some of our meetings and the productivity in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So kind of through that process of, maybe doing some quick check-ins after the meetings or the retro, or having informal discussions with team members. So let's say you've done all that. How are you going to then kind of validate your assumption there that it is the routine that's stifling the interaction, the camaraderie in the team?
How would I validate it? I don't know.
Like, how would you know you're fixing the right thing? Basically, right?
Yeah. I guess I would, you stumped me. What am I, okay, in my head, I'm thinking, going through, doing a couple of check-ins, doing a retrospective, talking to each person individually, and I'd include the product owner up here in Calgary as well. Based on all of that information, I'd actually go back to the team and say, "Hey, this is what I've heard. Is that right? Like, am I on base or out to lunch?" So I'd check in with the team,
okay,
and see if that was what, and get their feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then based on that, I mean, that's already a good place to start that discussion with the team together and say, so how do we want to change this? What looks good to you guys, kind of thing, and we can run a small experiment and see if that is the case.
Okay.
It changes it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of gathering that information, reflecting it back to the team in terms of what you're seeing,
Yeah.
and then engaging them in what changes, if any, they wanted to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Amazing how this stuff is really in my brain. It just takes a while to get it pulled out in a format that I can, oh yeah, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, so when we started the conversation, you had talked about wanting to connect more with the team members, and you talked about like one-on-one conversations, and I know that's part of what we've just talked about. Was there anything in addition to that you had in mind, or anything different that you had in mind?
Yeah, I guess what was bothering me when we first started talking, and I was kind of talking about these one-on-one things, is it was feeling way too formal for me. And that would be, it wouldn't be helpful to get to a point where in developing that kind of safety of conversation. So I think that was the big part of it. And I think by reflecting this kind of what I gather from the team back to them, we'll be able to start developing that forum in which they can talk about what they're thinking and feel about how the process is going and whatnot, rather than just having to follow a process that maybe they aren't seeing a lot of benefit from, or that kind of thing. Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's what was bothering me, was that not wanting to introduce more kind of another meeting on top of everything for them. Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So keeping it kind of informal with these check-ins and whatnot would be, you could get some more information without kind of putting more process on top of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. What's your, what's my question? What's your guess in terms of what will come out of all of this when you proceed?
My guess is that we'll probably see slight improvement to begin with, and it'll be really important to reinforce that bringing up of ideas, bringing up of risks. That's a good, great. Thank you for that, and let's work together to figure these things out.
Okay.
So to keep developing that that feeling of working together and being able to talk about the work that's being done and the good and the bad parts of it both, not just the good parts. I think that's going to be really, really important. Because I think right off the bat, I'll see some small improvements where they're testing the waters, and then depending on the reaction, not just from myself, but from everybody else in the team, will shape whether they continue to grow in that way or they tend to just regress again. Oh gosh, that's interesting. It's probably one step at a time, but yeah, thinking about how we can reinforce that feeling of safety.
Right. Yeah. So you've already mentioned one, which is acknowledge what you're hearing, right? So so absolutely, as you kind of go through these discussions, and as you and the Scrum Master and the team hear these things from each other, acknowledging that, okay, cool, thanks, that's a thing, whether that's something we as a team choose to act on or not, that depends, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely important.
Cool.
What else would be important in kind of ensuring that the team continues to be open once they start down that path?
That, I guess, I don't know how you really phrase this. Acknowledgement is good, but also respect for each other's thoughts and ideas, and how we proceed based on what's been brought up. And then the other thing is, and this is, I don't know if this is what, but this is something I've been struggling with lately too, is accountability. So if we make a decision together as a team, making sure that we hold ourselves to that and are accountable there. I think that's a huge part of being able to be open and honest, is getting that feeling of so we've made a decision, we've decided a path forward, now let's actually do it and see what comes out of it, and then have an honest assessment kind of at the end of whatever that experiment might be. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that makes sense. So how would you do that?
Oh gosh. Well, in some ways it just really depends on the team, where their comfort level is and that. But I think it's a discussion that we would have as we're making decisions, and put it back to the team and say, okay, in order to make sure that we don't drop the ball on this, or don't, that we remain accountable, how do you propose we do that? And leaving that up to them, or us together as a team, really, as opposed to saying, okay, now we're going to do it this way, type of thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. So it's hard to answer the question because I don't know what it's actually going to look like, but I think it's important to have that that discussion of how are we going to be accountable, and then as a team figure out what that looks like for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happens when, so we've had discussions, we've made some progress, we've got some things we're going to do, or we've got some accountability built in. What happens when the team fails?
It's going to sound weird, but I want to celebrate the failure and learn from it.
Okay.
So that the failing isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
That it's actually just part of working together, trying something out, recognizing when it doesn't work, and learning and moving forward again.
Okay. And so what does that look like for the team?
First of all, and I think this might be part of the most difficult, is actually acknowledging the failure. And saying, yep, this didn't work, for whatever reason that is. So I think that's the biggest part. And what I would really like, don't quite know how to do this, maybe it'll just happen, is for the team themselves to acknowledge the failure without me really having to, without me being the one that says, hey guys, so what do you think?
Okay.
Because, and again, it kind of comes back to the struggling with the word, safety aspect of it. I think if I were to be the one that kind of brings it up and says, hey, this didn't work out so well, it kind of takes away, what am I trying to say? It takes away, or it would make it seem like they're being told something's wrong, and so it's taking away their own power disempowering.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really like to see it come from the team, like their own honest assessment of how the experiment went.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, part of encouraging that, what would that be? Is when we set up the experiment, when we make that decision of what we're going to do, setting up that time for assessment, and holding ourselves to it, and then letting them do the talking as to how it went and what they felt, what they saw, that kind of thing. And hopefully in the case of a failure, they'll be honest with themselves and with the team to say, this didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you experienced this kind of thing with a team before and gone through this process?
Yep, with one of our teams.
Okay.
Um,
and so tell me about what happened in terms of failure there. Did the team recognize it and adjust? Did you have to play a role there? What did that look like?
they recognized it.
Okay.
Yeah. It was pretty tentative to begin with. Like it kind of took a brave person to say, make that first comment, to say that they felt maybe it didn't go as well as it could have. Okay. And then one of the things was, it felt like it just really broke the ice. Then everybody else felt more comfortable saying, yeah, this didn't work. And I really found I wasn't a big part of the conversation once that ice was broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were you a part of in this situation?
Where I came in was kind of refocusing them back into, okay, that's here's what I heard as the assessment. Mm-hmm. Where are we going to go from here?
Okay.
Kind of making sure the conversation didn't just sit there at that one. Yeah, we failed.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, this is what I've heard. It's great to recognize, and where do we as a team go from here? What's our next steps?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, thinking of that, how does that translate to the situation that you're working with your remote team here?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm pretty certain the Scrum Master would speak up if he felt something that we'd failed at reaching that goal. That I wouldn't need to be the one to bring it up. And then I think that would probably the same thing may happen. Is once that ice is broken, the rest of the team could come into the discussion feeling a little more safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would your role be in kind of setting the team up to kind of grow and be stronger through this whole, a lot of stuff we've talked about, but through this whole kind of process?
Well, my role is coach. My role is helping provide those opportunities for them.
Okay.
So reflecting what I'm seeing, helping them have that discussion, like providing that that environment that is as safe as I can help them make it. And then really kind of looking, helping with whatever decisions get made, what process we decide to hold ourselves accountable to, and probably potentially, I don't know if I would even need to, but just reminding, kind of at the time checkpoints, if we set any of those out, if they don't bring it up, I'm there to help support them in that process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all of that?
Actually, I feel much better.
Okay.
I think I get caught and I struggle between leading the charge and providing that support for the team.
Right.
And yeah, so coming back to understanding that that's my role, is that supportive role, really helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So what's your first step in all of this?
So my first step is I'm at our next meeting, I'm going to do a quick check-in, just kind of a pulse to see how everybody felt about the meeting. And then I'm going to just informally touch base with everybody on the team and see how they're feeling about like the productivity of the meetings. If we're getting as a team what we need out of the meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So that's my first step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's
cool.
Good.
I can do that. I can start on Monday.
Good, because that was my next question. So that's when your team's meeting next, is it? Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll be our Scrum stand-up. And I think that'll be a great one to say, have we gotten what we need out of this meeting?
Okay, cool. So last question for you.
Sure.
So we've had a few discussions like this, but what would you say is the most useful thing about our discussions?
Oh gosh, the most useful thing is for me to get out of my head and talk to somebody else, to hear what I'm thinking out loud, and the questions that you use to prompt me to go further and to expand that thinking, or maybe think a little differently. That's hugely beneficial. I know if I were just sitting in my own head, that would never happen. And having that ability to get coaching like that is incredible. It really helps me move forward and make progress.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, I guess that's all for today, and we'll chat with you next time.
That sounds good. Thank you very much, Brock.